concept of just community eyes on the street that comes from the new, especially the new traditional neighborhood design codes. Rather than having all of your living done in the back, your living is now
It's like in
coming
the
forward.
movies where they open the windows and yell at the kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Behave. So.
Here's dinner time. Right, yeah, something like that. Access control. Access control should be planned and implemented to restrict criminal intrusion, especially in areas where activity cannot easily be observed. Access control may include, but is not limited to, use of fences, walls, landscaping, and lighting to prevent or discourage public access to or from dark or unmonitored areas. In addition, sidewalks, pavement, lighting, and landscaping areas should be used to guide the public to and from primary development, entrances and exits. And again, this is really important too. I'm sure a lot of us have noticed when we're driving down the dark Kansas highway, the one huge, mercury vapor lamp that's illuminating the whole farmhouse and everything around it is left in very deep shadow. It's not a really, not a very effective way of surveillance of your property unless you really want people to see it. So having entrances and exits clearly marked and clearly lighted, and other places that may be darker, that people may not be as prone to use to be fenced off is a good idea. It just keeps people on a natural path with natural light, or not natural light. It keeps them on lit areas rather than using high wattage, high lumen lighting to light up an area that nobody particularly cares about. Activity support. Activity support should be implemented by placing new or existing activities in an area so that individuals engaged in a particular activity become part of the natural surveillance of the other areas, such as basketball courts. For example, picnic areas may be located next to tot lots, not away from such areas, to assist in the observation of children at play. And I had added in here that these picnic areas and tot lots shall also not be located near collector streets. They need to be more interior.
Preferably not in a parking lot.
And preferably, where was that? Meadow Ridge, or no?
Autumn Place.
Autumn Place.
Or
It's in the middle.
collection
It's in the middle of the
basins.
parking lot.
I noticed in one subdivision, they were thinking about putting a baseball field down in a water collection basin.
A lot of people do that, actually.
That's recommended?
Well, it's not a water detention basin. It's more of a basin. It's like a stormwater swale. So you can have your ball greens, like down along the Missouri River. They put their ball greens down in there, and they can use it, and when it's flooded, they can't.
You don't have the
But-
big freeboards that a lot of these small detention basins have around here. I call them bomb craters. But it's larger areas where they can.
What are the most unique ones? I have to admit that it's kind of fascinating trying to put a ball field in this little area that's not large enough to be a ball field, and then you've got somebody's house right behind it.
Well,
Oh.
the reason why you're doing that is because, like, if you're putting in a detention basin, we encourage the natural detention basins versus some of the ones you've seen, which are a cement pit.
Yeah.
So I think
Well, I
the thought
understand it's
behind
a
that is.
natural collection basin, but it looks like a hole
Mhm.
that's had grass grown in it,
Mhm.
and it's not large enough to be a ball field.
Well, maybe it can be lacrosse.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't see those, I don't recall seeing many of those over in the park. Now, if they're there, they do a better job of height,
One that I saw was actually it's
or even at least. some
quite
that I don't
interesting.
see,
It's over by the downtown airport, downtown Kansas City.
Mhm.
Hunt Midwest did it. It's a T&D project, and behind the buildings, they have a large area where they have one section has a small playground area, and it's I don't know, it's a detention basin, but in the wintertime, they can also flood it they put a little chute down, and they can pour water in, and they flood it, and they have a little ice skating area. I don't know if they've ever used it that way, that's what the engineers came up
Well,
with.
we used
but
to have those up
it
in
is
Eau Claire, Wisconsin too, but they didn't quite look like what I've seen in a number of our
Which one are you thinking? Which one are you
subdivisions.
thinking
Well, you
about?
got,
This is the big.
you go over
this
to
way.
Indigo Hills, for instance,
Mhm.
and they got, it's a pit. You go to this one subdivision as you're going, now this is in Independence, you're driving down, you've got Arde Mize, and you've got the fire station, and you go down the hill, and there's a little subdivision right there that Acres was developing. And then it's got this, I mean, it's just a weird looking collection here. I wasn't quite sure where.
It's a detention, it's not a retention.
Uh,
Does it hold water or?
It's right behind, there are a number of homes there, and then you've got this pit.
It's a
Is it
detention.
grass?
I mean, and
Is it
then
grassy?
you go into subdivision going north as you're going out 7 Highway. What's the one that's there as you're going toward Independence? It's
Rock Hill?
Rock Hill. And then you drive back in there, and there's a retention.
That's independent.
Oh, behind all those houses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the strangest looking things, and to me, there's nothing, I mean, if they're intended to be used for something other than just, I can't figure out the concept.
You know who could really, it would be, was alive, Joe Flynn, used to really promote regional detention areas.
Absolutely.
Which is what you're talking about, instead of each development having its own detention basin. Joe Flynn was a big promoter of the fact that we need to really get, kind of a regional effort with our detention areas, so.
Well,
That's-
it's just, there's nothing attractive about them. There's nothing, they don't appear to be useful other than collecting water at a time of overflow.
Of overflow.
And then to
Curb
me,
gutter
it's just they're gonna be ideal areas to breed mosquitoes.
Well, what a lot of communities are doing in those basin-type areas that are collecting water, seasonally water, stormwater overflow is seeding it with wildflowers.
Okay, we're gonna move on here. So
Well, I was just curious,
Well,
I'm just asking.
I know, we need a regional
You're
detention
talking-
plan.
I don't want children playing around someplace where it's not safe for
Where
them.
there's gonna be water collecting.
That was my concern. That's why I was asking about
I think it's a slow flow though.
No, but what he's saying is if we're gonna add language that says not near streets, parking lots, we definitely don't wanna have it, a playground near a detention basin either, because at times that's gonna be full of water and it's gonna be
Right.
dangerous.
that. That was my point, so.
And I know this is a little off subject, but while we're off subject, we were gonna add something, and I don't know where that's to be added, but Officer Jarvis had wanted us to add something about marking trails, having markers on trails. Have
Mhm.
we added anything in here? Did I miss it?
Is that in the open space
Is that, are we
area?
coming to that?
I did not add that in yet. I was wanting to know where exactly we wanted to put that. We could put it in the pedestrian access. It doesn't
Yeah.
quite fit to me, or somewhere in the open space.
I kinda think it should be in the open space, because that's where the trails are gonna be.
Okay.
Okay, I'll let you know when we get to that. We're on maintenance.
Maintenance? Oh. Landscaping, lighting fixtures, and other features should be maintained to facilitate the principles of SEPTED, territorial reinforcement, natural surveillance, and access control. So that's just talking about, let's maintain it.
When we were talking about the CTED, we were gonna also make sure that in the staff reports to the planning commission and to the city council, whether they went through that program or not, would be in staff notes.
Staff notes, that's right. Okay. Okay. Letter G, privacy assurance. 0 lot line side yard setback shall be permitted on one side of a lot when shown on approved final plat, provided that the side yard of the adjoining yacht must be at least 15 feet. To maintain privacy for both the house and the adjoining side yard, windows shall be offset. Transom windows are encouraged on the 0 lot line side of the residence at least 6 feet above the inside floor levels. Again, this goes with building orientation.
This was something we had discussed